Hello and welcome to This Is Just Ross and Chris chatting about Scottish property, because that's all we ever talk about. And specifically today, we're going to talk about the length of time it takes for a sale to complete. That is known as the conveyancing period or missives. It's taking ages. Ross, what does that mean? How long is ages? How long is it taking for a sale to complete, and how long did it used to take, and so on?
Well, traditionally, you'd expect a sale to complete using lending to take 6 to 8 weeks. And what we're finding at the moment is that the timescales have now increased to 10 to 12 weeks. So it's a month extra added to the timescale. So it can be frustrating for both the buyer and the seller during that period where they're looking to get things moved along as quickly as possible. Things are out with their control, and probably the main reason for that is the lending criteria. There's less lending products on the market. The lending products that are on the market it's much more stringent in their application. The lending has just become more difficult for them to access. So yeah, just trickier to get things over the line.
I think also solicitors, just with the upturn in the number of home buyers buying and selling, they're just incredibly busy, and maybe they're slightly understaffed, because I'm not sure where they are with staffing since sort of COVID lockdown and things like that. So it's all very different. The other thing I noticed when we came out of lockdown was that there was a number of investors that we had that had bought properties, but the products that they'd been given, the lending products, the mortgage products they had before, were just no longer valid. So that delayed a lot of those ones, but it doesn't explain where we are just now. But what you said is spot on. And we've got Christmas coming up as well. I don't know how many days it is to Christmas, not enough. And then there's the LBTT amended rates for COVID as well, and just how do you think all that's going to sort of work out?
Yeah, well, Christmas is traditionally you'd expect people to be off for 2 weeks. That obviously has an impact on any sales that are due to complete just before or during that 2-week period. They're usually delayed and moved into January, so that 12-week period is likely to be extended further and sales completed in January as opposed to during the sort of festive 2-week period. LBTT, they currently have amended rates at this moment in time due to COVID. So if you're buying a property below 250,000, there's no LBTT percentage to pay. That the Scottish Government advised that will be in place until the 31st of March next year, where we'll go back to the rates that were in place prior to COVID, which would be if you're buying a property up to 145,000, there's no rates to pay. Above that, it's 2% from 145 to 250, and above that, 5%, and then it increases as the valuation of the property gets more expensive. There is some sort of discussion about potentially that LBTT rates, the COVID rates, being extended for a further period after the 31st of March, which probably would make sense, because what we're going to experience the other side of Christmas is probably a lot of people trying to squeeze a lot of property deals through before the 31st of March, which is going to have perhaps a little bit of a meltdown in the system, especially due to the extended periods for lending being approved.
Yeah, just no ADS allowance made. That is still there. That 4% still there. We've talked about that before. Okay, last thing to say then is just the difficult job of keeping sales on track. I don't think I need really a big comment from you on that. Just, I'm obviously involved in it too, and it is just a case of communicating as much as possible, and buyer and seller making sure things are moving along. But the longer something takes, the more opportunity there is for it not to complete. And I guess it's fair to say that a good estate agent, they earn their wage a lot of the time at that point, just making sure that all parties are happy enough, and it gets to that point where the sale completes, and then you can breathe a sigh of relief sometimes.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, it's never the case that a deal is done until the missives are signed. And the missus might be signed just about, could be a week before the deal is due to be completed, sometimes a shorter timescale than that. So you could go through 10 weeks, and suddenly for whatever reason, a sale might collapse, which is obviously the worst case scenario for anybody that's selling their property at that particular time. So that's where, as you say, the good guys step in and try and manage the process from start to finish, from the formal offer coming in to the sale being completed. You need to sort of make sure you're on top of things, helping out the seller, helping out the sort of buyer, helping out the solicitors involved, and getting it over the line.
And our metrics are good on that, I must say, at that point. That's all from me, though. Ross, anything else to add?
That's all from me, Chris.
All right. Thank you very much. See you later.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.